All right, we're up and running, ladies. Good evening. Coach Jen here. Super excited to be on with you guys tonight for our VIP masterclass. This is just one of my favorites to get the opportunity to have more of an intimate group to do some coaching and to, of course, interact. And I want to do that here towards the end. I've got some great content for you all tonight, and then we're going to follow through with some Q&A in the end. And so we're going to jump right into content here at the top of the hour, because I definitely want to make sure that I'm doing my best to stay on time tonight, and of course leave some time for questions. So we're going to start and dig into peak performance, one of my favorite topics. And I'm really excited about this, you guys, because it's kind of been a internal study that I've done over the last, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months. And as I've learned and really grown and changed, I just wanted the opportunity to begin to pour that out to, my clients. And so as I've kind of worked on this content and learned it and shared it in private practice, this will be just actually one of 2 times that I've started to share some of the teachings in a group setting. And so I'm looking forward to digging in tonight, sharing that with you, and definitely getting your feedback as well. So what I want to share first as we go in is kind of just a working definition of peak performance. And that's important for us because there's kind of a working definition, I'll say, but it's understanding how you as a CEO can cultivate yourself and your habits to create lasting success through consistent, excellent performance, regardless of external forces. Day in and day out, we are bombarded, ladies, with, agendas of other people, our own agendas, priorities of our business, priorities of our family. And, those situations and circumstances can often sway us really to and fro and put us in a position where we're really not able to perform well. And as a CEO, as a business owner, that's very important because your performance determines your output. It determines, what your brand is doing in the market. It determines how much money you're earning. So it's a really big deal. The other definition that I want to really kind of look at is working, living, and executing at your very best. And so this really means, in all areas of your life, finding a way and creating habits and strategies that allow you to really be executing at the best of your ability. And, we have really great days, and sometimes we have really good days, and sometimes we have not so good days, and that's okay. But we need to understand how to get ourselves in a position to really begin to execute at a high level in all areas of our lives. Sound good? It's exciting stuff. So let's take a look here. The foundation of peak performance really comes down to 3 things here. So hopefully you're in a place you'll have the opportunity to take some notes, because that's super important, but it's understanding first and foremost your priorities. And I use priorities as an overarching kind of word to describe your values and your why, because your priorities are going to be made up of these 2 things. So the question is for you at the top of the hour here, what do you value? What's really important to you? If you've done coaching with me before, at some extent, you've probably had the chance to do a values clarification. This is really important because you got to understand what's important to you. Is your driver, wealth? Is a driver of you, how you conduct yourself because you want to do something great for your family? Do you value love? Do you value comfort? Those things are determining factors that help then determine what takes priority in your life. And I found in order to really be at peak performance, you've got to have a real clear vision of what you value and be working as often as you can in that space. So, you know, executing in a way that if wealth is important to you, that you on a regular basis are seeing cash flow come in, and you've got wealth strategies in place to build short-term and long-term wealth, right? If family is one of your greatest priorities, you want to be executing in a way that your family is maybe involved in your business, that your business isn't taking you away from your family on a regular basis. These are all really, really important things for us to be looking at. 1 second here. We've got some additional noise. I just want to get out of the way here. Sorry about that. Hi, ladies who are coming on. Welcome, welcome. So glad that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and mute a few of you to make sure we don't have any background noise. Awesome. So understanding your values, all right? And that kind of correlates with what is your ultimate why. I think that for so many of us, we may have at the very beginning, the inception of our business, had a very clear picture of why we're doing what we're doing. But as we begin to walk down that path and walk that out, we end up doing things for very various reasons, right? Because it's comfortable, because this is what's going to bring in money right now, because this is maybe what's easier. You know, and all of those are not necessarily rights or wrongs. They are what they are. But if you can stay truly grounded on a consistent basis to your core why, you'll find it an overflow of who you are to perform at your peak. The test is 5 whys. So when you first ask yourself this question, why am I in this business? You're going to give yourself one response. Then I'm going to ask you to ask that same question again. So let's say I'm in business for myself because I want to have freedom of schedule, right? I want to own my own schedule. So then you ask yourself, well, why do you want to own your own schedule? This becomes your second why. Why do I want to own my own schedule? Because I really don't like having to answer to a boss. Okay. Why do you not like having to answer to a boss? So I've asked myself 3 different whys at this point. You see where I'm going with this? You have to ask yourself to get to your true why 5 different times. It sounds like a crazy activity, but I'll tell you, when one of my business mentors first asked me that, I was like, that's ridiculous. I totally know my why. But then when I began to ask again and again and again, I really literally got down to like the core of why I wanted to have that business at that time in my life. And honestly, it ended up coming down to me being, actually it was almost like a fear-based response, was the core reason for why in that season of my life I was functioning in this business. And it literally was fear of not having enough finances in my family because of something that was happening, you know, at my job. But then you've got to get to that core and have a real understanding of that raw, like, why is it? And is that enough to sustain you through the hard times? Is that enough to drive you to perform at your very best? Or is it driving you to perform in a scarcity kind of manner, right? So then ultimately, are you doing something that's really going to produce great fruit? These are questions that we can't answer on a 1-hour masterclass, but these are things that I want you to take home with you, because it's going to be critical for you to begin to flow out of an abundance of who you are, out of an abundance of fire and passion and joy and excitement. All of those things flow out of a place of abundance, and that's where greatness is really found. And so you've got to take some time to do the work, to dig down to these values and to this why. And I'll finish here so we can continue to move on. But what I'll say about this portion is that it does change. It's not always the same, and it's not always going to be what it originally was when you first started. You're growing, you're changing, you're maturing, your business is developing and changing, your family is changing, right? All of these things are happening, but you've got to understand that this is a foundational piece that on a regular basis you need to come back to and assess. All right? So we're understanding our priorities, which is really like our values and our why. And this helps drives us to understand our passion. Okay. Passion is important because passion may not always drive your business, but passion does always drive you. If that makes sense. So I make money in multiple ways. As an entrepreneur, I have a couple streams of income, but I also have a day job, a career that I'm growing and very excited about. Now, am I super passionate about what I do in my day-to-day in my career? Somewhat, but it isn't what wakes me up every single day, right? That's not what I get out of bed for and get excited about. I'm passionate about impacting people. Right. And so I get to do that in my day job. I really get to do that in my coaching practice. Right. So it's important that you find ways to be at your peak to get yourself in a position to be living in those passions. I'm also very passionate about praise and worship. I love singing. It's not easy for me. It takes work, but it's a gift, and I love functioning in that. And so I've had to find in my schedule a way that I get to execute in that way. Even though it's not all the time, it's not what I wake up for every single day, but it's a key component of who Jennifer is. And it brings joy to my life. You'll see that they're listed. It brings satisfaction. It kind of brings fire, right? It charges me up. It challenges me. So it's important to understand your passions, and if that is a part of your business, if that's who you are and what you live for is your business, that's awesome. But if it's not, that's okay too. And that's why I love to share this, because your passion is of overflow of who you are, but it may not always be your business specifically, but it should help drive your business, a component of that. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody? You can give me some I'm getting a head nod from Colleen. If you guys are on audio, I want to make sure that we kind of just like check temperature on the priorities and the passions that you guys are feeling good about that. Our chat, good. Rose is giving me a yes. Anybody else on the chat? I'm making sure to watch too on our messenger. Good. So priorities and passions. I want you to take some time for you to think about when you are executing in your passion, when you are executing and you know you're at your peak, like this is the best Colleen that I can be right now in this moment. You know, Damali, you know, when are you most joyful in life, right? Rose, what do you get excited about doing day to day? Think about those moments. And I want you to really, you know, even if right now you can jot it down on a piece of paper. I've asked this before in classes, and I've had people say, you know, standing in front of people and speaking. For some people, that may scare the pants off of them, right? For other people, that is just like, they love it. They love impacting people in a large group. They love, you know, teaching, storytelling. You want to begin to identify those moments and find ways in your life to magnify them. It can be in your business. It could be with your family. It could be, you know, outside of that, like I explained, you know, being at church and singing and praise and worship, right? Those are one of those moments. Anybody have a moment that they can think of or picture that they want to share? I like to kind of fire out some ideas so that ladies can kind of hear from each other. Anybody want to open up? You can unmute your line. No one today? That's okay. All right, no problem. All right, so you've got your written down. You got an idea of when you feel like you're most alive, when you feel you're most joyful, when you're feeling the most satisfaction in life, what fires you up and gets you excited. what you want to begin to do is understand your goals. Your goals should be a strategy to meet these needs and get you to those points. So needs meaning those values, that why, right? The moments are those passion moments, those moments when you're most alive, those moments when you're really excited about what it is that you are doing in life. And I want to challenge you to begin to think about these on a daily and weekly basis, not a monthly and yearly basis. Sure, I want you to have monthly goals. I want you to have yearly goals. But if we're talking specifically about performing at your peak, this class is challenging you to start to micromanage yourself a little bit, right? Some of you may be already doing that. Many of you probably are not. And I say that to say daily, weekly, where am I hitting these moments, these targets where I'm really seeing my values executed? I'm really seeing my passion be experienced in my daily life and in my daily work. That will not happen if we're just looking at our goals on a monthly and a yearly basis. It won't happen consistently enough. Let me say that, right? I'm not saying it won't happen, but it won't happen consistently enough for you to begin to perform at your very best. My very best, Jennifer, happens when I'll tell you like the last probably 48 to 72 hours. And let me give you a picture. On Saturday, I woke up and I had breakfast with my kids. I try to make a hot breakfast on Saturday mornings, and I did that. And then I got out and I had rehearsal for Praise Team on Sunday, which was great. That's like my me time, right? In the afternoon, I got the chance to go into the city to an event for a CEO chick who's launching her business. And I spoke for 20 minutes and got to mix and mingle and get some great pictures. And then I headed back home for the night. You know, I had church on Sunday, which was awesome. That's important to me. Had family dinner on Sunday, right? Prepared for work today. Had a great day at work. End up my Monday night with you guys teaching a masterclass. Like, this is amazing. Like, that for me is like, wow, firing on all cylinders. Spent time with my family. Got some of my personal time doing praise and worship, right? Had Easter, which was great with family, church. My spiritual life is very important to me, right? Monday, executed well at work, accomplished a lot. And then I get to finish my Monday evening doing what I'm truly passionate about, and that's coaching. So I want you to see that range of a day or two of my life and how that hits those markers of the values, the priorities, the passions. That does not happen without setting goals on a daily and a weekly basis and building a calendar. And that is important. And so I spent a lot of time here on the foundation because I want you guys to understand it's the foundation. If we get this, if you start to understand what this looks like, you'll have the ability to begin to really execute at your peak. Planning and preparation in all of those areas. Right? Like, all that did not happen in 2 or 3 days, and it doesn't happen in your life without you ladies having a plan. I know it doesn't. You have to be organized, and then you have to monitor that progress, right? How is that look? How is that happening? Am I living in these areas? So this is going to be a page you guys are going to come back to in your notes that I want you to just have some thinking time on, that I want you to really just say, man, where am I firing all cylinders, and where do I got to get started? And that's okay, right? That doesn't happen all the time for me. This was just a great weekend example. There's lots of weekends that it's very much curved to family needs and duties and not much Jennifer time, right? Or I'm behind in work and I don't feel super great about it. Got to play catch up. But, you know, you want to find what's that peak, what's that best moment in those areas that you can strive for, I should say. All right. Any questions, feedback, hit me up on the chat or unmute yourself. We're running about halfway through now. I want to make sure everybody's feeling good about the info. All right. We're going to keep it moving. Let's talk about execution. So how do I do this? What does this look like for me? What does this mean in my life, Coach Jen? How do I get it done? I love my calendar. I have a love-hate relationship with my calendar, if I can say that. And I think women who are successful understand what that means. And I know that many of you do here, but I want you to get super intimate with your calendar to the place and the point that you do not any longer depend on this right here in between your two ears to come up with what your success map is going to be and your strategy. You begin to think it and put it down to execute. So my calendar very quickly in a week will tell me if I'm on track for peak performance or I'm not. And I'll know that based on how well it's filled out, right? Do I have appointments in my calendar? Do I have things that are touching those values, my family, my personal time, my business, and my career? You know, do I see, for instance, I have a little calendar ping that comes up every day at 3:15. The kids get off the bus right out here in front of the house. I do my darndest to not put anything on my schedule at that time because I want to get outside to see my kids and welcome them home, right? Before I come back to work. Do I see something like that on my calendar? Do I see dentist appointments to go take care of my health? Do I see lunches with colleagues giving me the chance to collaborate, work with other women? Do I see blocked out time for reading, for marketing my business, for doing presentations for my business? Your calendar is literally going to map you to success. It is just like a map. My destination is this. My calendar is going to get me there. If my calendar doesn't have those things in it, it's like it doesn't exist. And I really want you to begin to treat your calendar like that. And this is micromanaging. But until it becomes a habit for you to have disciplines like scheduling regular lunches with other business owners to collaborate with, it just happens naturally, then you need it in a calendar. And even if it happens naturally, I still advise you don't depend on that you put it in, your meditation time or your exercise. Is it in your calendar? If it's not, it's probably not going to happen. And those are the kinds of things that we'll talk about here on this page that are so important to you really performing at your peak. So your calendar's everything, guys. Calendar's everything. Those things that you're implementing and you're putting in your calendar have to begin to function around your passions as we've talked about it. But I love to also describe it as your fuel versus your frustration. And peak performance is all about finding what you're great at, what you do best, and magnifying it. And the things and the areas that you aren't, that you look for ways to delegate those tasks, to automate those tasks, and to minimize them as much as you can. That doesn't mean we stop doing the things that we're not great at, because we want to grow and we want to develop, but you spend a lot of time in the things that you're very, very good at. So if as a part of your business, you're really great at selling, talking to people, sharing what it is that you do, then you don't want to delegate that task to anybody else. You want to manage that. But you could have other people sending emails, making phone calls. You could have, other administrative tasks that you can get support on. You want to begin to do that because you want to be sure that you are executing in the place that you become fueled, excited about, energized about, not where you're constantly frustrated. All right. That's super important for peak performance. Real accountability is next. Real accountability. And I say real accountability because you can have a partner or somebody nearby you or geographically or another CEO chick that maybe you say hey or what's up to every so often, but you need to have somebody that you can ask some real tough questions about yourself and get a really real answer. You know, I have dear friends who do this for me, Colleen, Christina, who all say, man, I'm having trouble with this. Like, what do you think? Or what do you think my performance has been lately in these areas? You know, give me kind of a rating, give me some feedback. Performing at a high level means you need coaching, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to come from a coach, but it has to come from somebody who can give you a really great response to what it is that you're currently doing in your life. I mean, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, never went without a coach, right? We see that with athletes all the time. But sometimes we get into business and we get into life and we think that we just do it on our own. But that's not how it happens at all. And I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir because you guys are already here, your CEO chicks, your members, you're getting accountability and coaching, but I want you to not forget how crucial this is on a regular basis to have somebody to check in with and to get feedback. All right. Personal development goes without saying. We're always growing, we're always learning, and that's really important. Developing yourself, finding ways to improve incrementally. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon. And so you want to be at every measure of your growth, just finding ways to improve yourself in different areas. All right. Critical thinking and stretch performance. I'm just going to touch on this as well too before we get to the next couple, but you've got to get into environments where you're being required to think and grow in different ways. And not only think and grow, but do that through performance. So challenging yourself to get out of your comfort zone and do something that you're really not okay with. Like, I don't know how else to say that, but you know, I like to sing, but I don't always like to be in front, right? And I've been challenged recently to accept a challenge to do that. And that was something that I recently had to do. And of course I've sang for a while, but there's seasons in your life where you do stuff and you don't do stuff. And it was a big deal, but stretching myself to perform in that way, and literally it means performance, was hard. And I had to practice and I had to really put in extra work and get over some issues that I had with confidence and with receiving feedback from a teacher or a leader that I didn't necessarily want to get it. You know, you've got to put yourself in those situations. Nobody else is going to, right? You got to challenge yourself to say, man, I think I'm going to take that class on public speaking, right? I think I'm going to volunteer to go teach at the YWCA. And I'm going to do a little short class on whatever I want to do. I'm going to challenge myself to, and you know, I'm thinking of ways now that are kind of in front of a group or in front of speaking in front of people, because that is usually very challenging. But there can be other things that may challenge you. But you're going to know best what that is. And you've got to make the decision to grow and develop in a different way that you're going to put yourself into a position of stretching, that stretch performance, that going beyond what your daily life is going to cause you to have to do. Maybe it's volunteering for an organization. It's taking a board position on a nonprofit, right? Those kind of things will stretch you and your skill set in a different way that your business isn't maybe right now. But those are going to be the things that are going to push you to a peak performance trajectory. In that same path, and I kind of just call it something different, it's mastering versus multitasking. Those who perform regularly at their peak are very focused. And not that they don't do more than one thing in life, but they're all very much a part of a flow. It's very much a part of getting in a certain zone, a certain area of gifting, a certain area of business, and you're maxing it out. You're really learning to master it. And So when we talk about numbers 4, 5, and 6, it kind of all comes down to this, you know, growing yourself to become a master of what it is that you do versus multitasking and being all over the place. That is so important. I think that for a while there in the market, it was, you know, and still is, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, you know, and it's 4 different things all across the board, all very different. We're finding, you know, nowadays that people do, they'll do a couple different things, right? But it all kind of has the same foundation, the same vein that it's flowing in. And I want you to think about that when it comes to your business. And to your life, your multiple streams of income, you know, the areas of your life where, you know, you're spending your time. It can all help kind of go toward that, becoming better at who you are for you being the best you, you know, you being the best you in life, you being the best you in business, mastering it. That's a really important thing when it comes to peak performance. And then the last couple things we'll talk about here are just the daily disciplines. And oh, discipline is such a dirty word. No one likes that word because it doesn't feel good. But just because it doesn't feel good doesn't mean that it doesn't do good, right? It may not feel good, but it is going to do good. And these are 5 daily disciplines that, as I've kind of studied achievers, those who are very successful, these are the 5 things that they'll find in their calendar, that they're mapping on a regular basis and they're really monitoring. And that's your eating. That's your nutrition. That's making sure, and I know Colleen is all over here like shaking her head because she knows, as our resident healthy nutrition person on our CEO Chick group, but that eating, you guys, it matters. You know, it matters whether you wake up full of energy or you wake up feeling sick. You know, it matters whether you have the ability to go that extra mile and really perform at your best or fall short because you're exhausted. It's really important to get your eating in line. And you all know what this means. Lowering your sugar intake, making sure that you're drinking lots of water. There's definitely lots of information out there, and you've got resources within the group, as I already mentioned. Colleen McCarter out of Cleveland. Sleeping, yes, sleeping. I'm telling you, it's important, and you got to get consistent at it. Most of us don't recognize how well we do when we sleep because we are just sleep deprived on a consistent basis. And it's definitely not a good thing. And so I want to challenge you to begin to get this in check. Even if you're going to do 1 or 2 nights a week, maybe, that are going to be your late nights, that you know how to really get right back on track and keep a fairly disciplined schedule when it comes to sleeping. Exercise. 3 times a week, 30 minutes. It's the minimum. It's super important for function at peak levels. You will find most people who you see out there, think of almost anybody who is famous or successful, from, you know, President Obama to, I don't know, famous actresses. You know, you'll see their workout regimens. They're going to talk about it online. They're getting out and they're getting active, right? Got to do that. Your beauty routine. I think this is important, and it's been something that I've personally learned over my life, that when I take those moments to take care of myself, it doesn't always mean getting out and having massages and facials and all those lovely things we'd love to do, that even at home, you can take great care of yourself and take time out to do your own mani-pedi, to give yourself a facial, to buy yourself some nice new cosmetic products that when you use, you just feel great. And that's important to do and to keep up with and to maintain and to make it a requirement. This is one of those, have you ever heard when they're in the airplanes, what do they say to you? Oxygen mask is going to come down. Put your mask on before you help someone else, you know, even a child or someone who's elderly. You got to take care of you. And I think that lots of times these are one of those kind of things, we call it an extra. And so we leave it out of their budget. We leave it out of our time schedule. But there is something about valuing yourself in a way that you are willing to invest in yourself. And that's time, and that's your treasure. And so sometimes those beauty kind of things are things that we leave to the side, but I want to challenge you that you will perform better when you feel like you're well cared for, not only in the inside, but the outside too. And last, but certainly not least, relationships. We are humans who need touch, who need feel, who need interaction, who need love, who need conversation. And this is again, one of those things that when we have a busy schedule, it'll be the first thing that we take off of our calendar, whether it's a date night, whether it's coffee with a girlfriend, whether it is family night out at the bowling alley. We cut in these areas that are innate needs of who we are to flourish and to function well. And so I want to make sure that we go back to that number one point, our calendar mapping for success, that these daily disciplines are included. I make sure now that on my calendar, at least twice in a month, I am going out to dinner or I'm having coffee with somebody that I love. That's important to me. That can be a goal for you, right? To set that out on your calendar. That once a month, you're going to get your nails and your nails done or your hair done, right? That, you're setting a timer so that by 10 p.m., you got an alarm that pops up and it says, get in the bed, and reminds you to get in the bed, right? Those are the things that we want to begin to execute on a regular basis. And I promise you, you will see your performance in your career, in your company, in your business go to another level. All right. Last and certainly not least, I wanted to talk about being a dreamer versus a doer. Dreamers versus doers. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of D's, but the difference between a dreamer and a doer is discipline. A dreamer is going to think about it. A dreamer is going to have dreams. They're going to have all these visions of grandeur, of what they want their life to be, what they're going to do in this next season, and they're excited about it and they can articulate it, but they lack the discipline to be able to execute. And I just put up some of my favorite kind of quotes and images that I found and used in the past for discipline. I won't read them to you. You all can look at this on your own time, but my favorite right there in the middle: discipline is the ability to make yourself do something you don't want to do in order to get a result you want to get. That's why I say the love-hate relationship with the calendar. Didn't I say that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and work from home because I wanted freedom, but now I've stacked my calendar full of things to do? It's like, what happened here, right? But the reality is that freedom is felt in having regular discipline that gives me the ability to live the kind of life that I want to live that last 3 and 4 days like I've had the opportunity to live. And that's freedom. I mean, that is what freedom is. Freedom doesn't always mean just sitting on the beach and rubbing your toes through the sand. Freedom is, really executing life in a way that you're seeing manifestation of your dreams. You're seeing dreams be fulfilled. You're seeing goals be obtained. And that's what's exciting. That's what we live for. That's when we see our why fulfilled and we see our passions executed on. But it requires this dirty D word of discipline that has to become who we are to perform at a peak level. All of these things add up. It's the ability, look at this pink one in pink. I am going to read it because it's so good. Caroline McKean says, the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses. The ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon it. When you get in a routine, you get discipline, you get, those things going, even when you're weak and you don't want to, what's on the other side of that discipline. You know what's on the other side of when your calendar is rock solid, when you've got engagements, when you're making sales calls, when you're building your business or your community or whatever it is that you're all about as a CEO. That feeling, it's getting over that to be able to get it done. And we want to build a community of doers, not just dreamers. And that means sometimes making y'all feel uncomfortable. That means giving you some tough love. That means holding you accountable to the things that you said that you want to accomplish in your business. And it's not just all the warm, fuzzy pats on the backs and hugs that I love oh so much. It's being able to tell you where you've got to course correct and what it's going to require to really become great. And I definitely believe every single one of you watching this video has the ability to execute at a high level this year. We're going into Q2 right now. We've blown through the first 3 months of the year, and it's a great time to assess, am I where I wanted to be? Have I gotten even halfway through those goals that I set for Q1? Did I accomplish all of them? Maybe you did, but I challenge you to really think about where you are as you move through 2018 and understand how to get yourself in position to not only get it done, but to get it done well. Not just to perform, but to perform at your very best. Because if you are consistently doing that, I promise you this quarter, you're going to hit the halfway mark of 2018 and have the ability to see yourself far exceed the goals that you mapped out for yourself. Because now you're performing at a higher level. You're really executing at your very best in multiple areas of your lives. And it's going to cause you to have so much more enjoyment, to have more passion, and to have literally performance that is going to propel you forward in your business in an entirely new way. That's definitely what we're here for and what we want to see you doing in this year. Not just dreaming, but doing. So let's take a look. As always, there's homework. I can't coach you and not give you something to take away and to execute on. And so I want you in this month to pick 3 action items. I'm not going to pick them for you. You saw the information today. You know what areas you need to work on and to grow in to really be at your very best. And I want you to email those into the coaching staff at ceochickcoaches@yahoo.com. You've got 7 days to get that done. So through next Monday, decide what your 3 action items are going to be that you're going to implement in the month of April. All right, 3 action items. These are going to be things that you can get disciplined in, that you can begin to see happen on a regular basis, and that we will see help you produce through this next quarter. So you've got the email there, ceochickcoaches@yahoo.com, 3 action items for April. And I want to open it up for Q&A. So I'm going to unmute everybody, and you can re-mute yourself if you feel like you've got a lot of background noise or you're just in a position to not be able to chat. That's no problem. But I would love to get feedback. I'd love to get questions. Let's kind of start a dialogue here for the last 10 minutes that we've got of this hour and see what we can cook up for some peak performance in April. What are your thoughts, ladies?
I know, Jen, this is kind of funny that you did this tonight, or I got on, because I was really been working on my why.
Nice.
And that was, kind of one of the big things. And I go through it, and that's where I, not that I struggle, but it gets to be, you get down this one place and then you're like, oh, you get like this gut feeling like, oh, I don't want to go there, and then you do something, then you leave it. So I think that's going to be definitely, really work through April to, really work on the why and really work on tightening up that calendar, to put everything, time block it. I do put my exercise, I do put my meal planning, but
good.
I do fall short on executing on like follow-ups and things like that sometimes. So
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. After how many years have I been in sales, do I still need to work on that? Right? Like we always have those areas to grow, but I love hearing that from you. The why, that little 5 why test got me. And it got me, I mean, it was emotional because your why should be emotional, right? It's what
Right.
drives you. It's who you are. But sometimes, we can allow ourselves, and even sometimes our mentors can allow us to be kind of surface. And we don't want to be surface. Like to be at your peak, you got to be able to dig deep. And the why was great. I loved hearing that from you. That's awesome. I'm sure you're great on your nutrition and health. That's great. And then finding those strategies to follow up. That's awesome. I love your takeaways. Those are great. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing. Who else, anybody who's on our chat tonight wants to shout out, talk about maybe what their action items are going to be or feedback from tonight?
Hi, this is Rose. Can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you on.
Thank you. My action item is going to be working on the goals, but doing them daily and weekly. I'm good with yearly and monthly, but I do. I know my issue is if it's not by the time I notice that I'm off track, the month's done, and there's really no other solution to it other than to put it off to the next month, and then it gets put off again, and it just creates this domino effect of of my goals that I had down. They get pushed back because of something that wasn't done. So I'm hoping that the daily and weekly goals will help me better schedule and give me better insight on where my issues lie. I think it's time management. I'm doing a lot. I'm the multitasker. So I'm trying to identify what to focus on and what to leave alone.
So good. You said such a great word. I loved it. Insight.
Mm-hmm.
To gain insight. Some of the highest level producers, right? And I say that just is another way to describe somebody who's successful.
Mm-hmm.
They have ways to assess their performance and gain insight from what's happening, right, in their lives. They're taking that time to sit and reflect. Yep. And to be able to look back at how you've done, not in a way that you're condemning yourself, but to say, man, why was that not my best? Why this month did I miss the mark on that? And really start to trail it back to, okay, this happened. And then that happened. And because of that, I didn't do this. Okay. Then you get to the root. It's almost like the 5 whys, right? But you're walking yourself back to what's the root cause of why I'm not getting stuff done. And it just has to get there where you're getting to that point where you're looking for insight, you're looking for analysis and ways to get better. And then when you do, it's not to beat yourself up, but it's to say, okay, how do I change? How does my strategy have to change? And maybe that means I do have to shut some stuff down. Maybe that means that I'm not going to be able to grow my business in this way. I need to focus in just this area right now and be sold out to that, and then I can grow in a new way. That's when you can start to make those decisions and refine your performance.
Yes.
So good. Insight. Great word. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. This is great, you guys. And this is the kind of dialogue that, you want to have somebody to push this stuff back and forth with, right? We got to use each other in this group, in this VIP members group. And I'm saying this to those of you who are on now and those who are going to see it later, but to really challenge each other and have some conversations like this. Ask for virtual coffee. I've been doing this lately, you guys, because I can't even get out to get coffee sometimes with people. Ask somebody for a 30-minute virtual coffee appointment. You grab your coffee at home, they grab their coffee wherever they are, and you get on a Zoom, you get on a video. I like to see, right? Not just be on the phone. Just talk. What's been going on? What are you working on? These are areas where I'm not feeling like I'm doing so great. got any ideas for me? You know, how are you? We begin to challenge each other in our thinking in a way that helps us get to these roots of what's impeding our performance, you know, what's causing us to not do well.
Hey, Jen, another group I'm involved in, and this might help you, Rose, is, and I got to get better at it, is creating a, it's like a win journal. Like at the end of the day, we keep a gratitude journal, but writing down, what did we do today that we're really proud of? Maybe that we called that person on their chicken list, or, maybe, we actually got, everything done that we mapped out on our calendar that today, or maybe we got to bed, earlier or something like that. So, just a win journal, because we focus so much on the things we didn't do. Oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't make those calls. I didn't get the laundry done. I didn't pack the lunches. I didn't exercise. And then we get into depression and anxiety mode. So
that's so good. I love that. Did you hear that? Were you able to hear Rose well?
Good. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good deal. I love that. That's such a great idea. And, for me, it was like, it's this, what do they say? The small foxes spoil the vine. Am I saying that right? I don't know. I might have that one wrong, but it's the little things, right?
Right.
For a while, I used to get so frustrated by the lunches. Colleen said it, by the end of the night tasks that I just hated doing, the dishes, and I had to really change my mind about those things, those daily disciplines that had to be done, and just get excited about it, find a way to just knock it out, power it out, because I felt so amazing the next day when I knew I had really buttoned up my night really well. The kitchen was clean, all the laundry got done, even if it meant I had to stay up an hour later. That now we're at a habit in our household that's created such a habit for everyone that everybody knows how to participate. Everybody gets involved in that. That allows mommy to have peak performance in the morning when I don't have to wake up and have to take care of stuff that should have been done the night before. And that's super important. You start to almost create these habits and these disciplines that, everybody in your family has come to expect, right? And even your extended family, right? If we've got a big day for Sunday, or I'm teaching a class on Saturday, like I shut down by 9 p.m. I don't have any phone on. I'm not watching TV. I just am getting in rest mode, because that's what helps me perform well. You start to work it back and analyze what are those things that are stopping you now, and just decide, I'm not going to allow them to stop me anymore. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to get a strategy together. I'm going to get a new habit in place that's going to ensure that does not impede my performance going forward.
Awesome.
And sometimes it's the little things. You knock out a few of those little things, and before you know it, then you're knocking out the big things. You've got your calendar in line, and it just becomes such a rhythm. It's such a habit. At that point, you're doing really well in those things. It's just momentum from there. Well, good. Thank you guys for your input tonight. I really appreciate it. I know we've had a couple other ladies on here kind of on mute and hopping off, but this is, as always, recorded, and we'll be putting it back out for you all as members. I would love to get your emails and see what your 3 action items are going to be, to get the chance to kind of interact over email on those over the next month, and hopefully get a progress update in the chat or in the group, just to see how this teaching has impacted you. It's so important for us to continue to bring to you guys content that is absolutely changing you and changing your business. So definitely please keep us, abreast of what your thoughts are on the coachings that you're getting in our VIP trainings. Let us know what you need to hear so that we can continue to plan forward for months ahead and get you the content that's going to help you continue to be your very best. Thank you guys for being on tonight. I'll look forward to seeing you all in our email box, ceochickcoaches@yahoo.com. Have a great week, ladies.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.